Give the Most High all glory and all honor for His love and His kindness. So today I'm doing a program, as you can see on the screen. It says spiritual analysis of the fourth kingdom. Spiritual analysis of the fourth kingdom. This is an assignment that the Most High gave me a long time ago, some years ago. I was supposed to be doing this program, and I did start doing this program. Some of you remember, I have done at least a video on um, this particular platform, as in, spiritual analysis. When the so-called war, um, when the so-called Ukrainian war started, I did a video. And basically, what this is to basically analyzing current event. So what you're watching right now is spiritual analysis of the fourth kingdom, analyzing current event, analyzing things that are happening in the world, and that's really what this is: spiritual analysis of the fourth kingdom. So if you are paying attention, um, you couldn't even miss it. Within the past few days, there has been a huge event when it comes to the relationship between the US and the Europe. And frankly, um, the Americans have abandoned um, the Americans have abandoned um, the Europeans. It's an interesting thing to say because they're all the same. The Americans and the Europeans are the same, but geographically, those in America have abandoned their brethren in Europe. That's really what's happening now. And so a lot has happened within the past few days, within the past 5 days. It was just incredible what has happened, how um, the Americans have abandoned the Europeans. So I want to give a little bit more. I want to give a little bit more information so you can understand what I'm doing and what you're watching. So as you can see, it says spiritual analysis of the fourth kingdom. Spiritual analysis of the fourth kingdom. So let me show you this. Let's go here. Yeah, right here. You see this? So this is why I do this program. It says Nebuchadnezzar's dream. Daniel chapter 2, Daniel chapter 7. World history foretold. So there was a dream from that Nebuchadnezzar had. He had a dream about the four kingdoms that will rule the earth and how those kingdoms are going to crush the other kingdoms that will come after them. So there will be four kingdoms that will rule the world, and um, there will be the last kingdom. The fourth one is going to crush all the other kingdoms that will come after it. So I do have videos on this topic, and the evidence shows that the Americans are the fourth kingdom, the Europeans are the fourth kingdom. The evidence clearly shows that. So let me quickly, I need to stop and just give you some, I want to give you as much information as possible so you can understand what you're watching, understand this spiritual analysis, why I'm doing this. So I want to play a video. Let me go and play this. So we are living under the fourth kingdom right now. I know some of you already knows this. So for who, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, it's okay. Very soon you will understand what I mean. So let me play this video real quick. So watch this. Just bear with me. Let me have the Bluetooth. Okay. I pray you can hear me because I just realized that the Bluetooth was on, and the Bluetooth it wasn't connected properly, even though it was on. So let me see. I'm gonna play this video. So I'll let the video play a little bit before I begin to speak.
So the US and Russia are negotiating a ceasefire. Ukraine has been left out in the cold, and Europe has been snubbed. They weren't even invited to the talks, like I told you. In response, Europe decided to huddle. Their leaders met in Paris for an emergency mini summit. The location was the Élysée Palace. The host was French President Emmanuel Macron, and in attendance were the top leaders of Europe, including NATO chief Mark Rutte, European Commission Ursula von der Leyen, and EU Council President Antonio Costa. This is Europe trying to regroup and devise their own strategy for the war. But were they successful? The meeting lasted for around 3 hours. It had two main outcomes. First, increased defense spending.
On defense, it's clear the US is not going to leave NATO. But we Europeans will have to do more. The issue of burden sharing is not new, but it is now pressing. And Europeans will have to step up, both in terms of spending and the capabilities that we provide.
For decades, Europe has leaned on the United States, especially as its security guarantor. During the first Trump administration, this issue came up. Trump wanted Europe to spend more on defense. If not, he said he'd withdraw from NATO. That sent European capitals in crisis mode. They increased defense spending to 2% of their GDP. That's what NATO members are required to do, spend 2% of their GDP on defense. Now, most of them have started doing it, but they did it only after Trump's threats in the last term. And all of them still don't do it yet. Plus, even at 2%, Europe's armies are still underfunded, so they now are talking about raising it to 3%. And that's being met with fierce resistance. These governments are struggling with fiscal constraints, and defense is not their biggest priority.
Ich bin sogar ein wenig irritiert.
We are all already 2% of our economic output on defense in the long term. A few member states are not quite there yet, but they're on the way. However, it will be very important for the future of Europe that we enable everyone to do what is necessary for it.
Gesprochen. Das ist höchst unangemessen, es ganz offen und ehrlich zu sagen.
So that was the first outcome. Europe is divided over defense spending. The second outcome involves sending peacekeepers to Ukraine. The suggestion initially came from Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of the UK. He said that he was willing to put boots on ground to send peacekeepers to Ukraine. But he would do it on one condition. Listen to this.
Europe must play its role. And I'm prepared to consider committing British forces on the ground alongside others if there is a lasting peace agreement. But there must be a US backstop, because a US security guarantee is the only way to effectively deter Russia from attacking Ukraine again.
So Starmer says he'll do it, but only if there's a lasting peace deal. And he wants a US guarantee. Will Trump agree? We don't know. And now it doesn't even matter, because Starmer's plan was killed in his own backyard. European leaders have rejected it. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz called the idea, and I'm quoting, premature. French President Macron was non-committal. Poland did not want to be part of it, and Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni questioned the plan. There are many problems with the peacekeeping force. It pits Europe in a direct conflict with the Russians. And it stretches the underfunded European armies, so the plan may not fly. And this meeting has basically proved only one thing, that Europe is divided. It can't seem to agree on anything. The war in Ukraine broke out in 2022, right on Europe's doorstep. It threatened their peace and security. A weakened Ukraine was bad news for them. Yet, for 3 years, Europe took a back seat and followed America's lead. But now America has a new president and a new plan, and Europe has no place in that plan. They find themselves on the sidelines, desperately hoping for a seat at the table.
It is a painful circumstance that we Europeans will have to try to find out about it from the newspapers because we missed the moment. The leaders of the big countries of Europe missed the moment when they could have made initiatives in the matter of the Russia-Ukraine war.
So what's next for Europe? The illusion of permanent American protection is cracking. The transatlantic alliance is under strain. Europe has been thrust into a moment of decision, a moment that it has long postponed. So it must do something now. Macron, Starmer, Scholz, and others may disagree on the plan of action, but I'm sure they agree on one thing, that the stakes are high. This is about their security, their own security. Without a coherent strategy, Europe may become a bystander in its own story. It's a continent at a crossroads. It can either act now and define its future, or squabble and be defined by others. We're calling the show Vantage. We hope you like what we put together for you.
I wanted to play that video and just let it play. So this is spiritual analysis of the fourth kingdom. The Europeans are the fourth kingdom that you read about in Daniel chapter 2 and Daniel chapter 7. Daniel chapter 2, Daniel chapter 7 showed the dream that Nebuchadnezzar had. Nebuchadnezzar had a dream, and that dream was recorded in Daniel chapter 2, Daniel chapter 7. It talked about the 4 kingdoms that will rule the earth. 4 kingdoms. And then it talked about the 4th kingdom, the 4th one, the 4th of those 4 kingdoms. The 4th one is going to be different from all the other kingdoms, and it's going to oppress the other kingdoms around it. So I do have a video on the 4th kingdom, and you could check out my channel for more information on that. So I am supposed to be doing videos, doing analysis on current events that has to do with the 4th kingdom, current events that has to do with the 4th kingdoms. So we do have a very seismic shift within the past 5 days or so. It was incredible to watch how the Americans had abandoned the Europeans. Incredible to watch. Amazing. And it's still unfolding. It is still unfolding. And I know that some of you have watched or saw on the news what has been happening. You saw what has been happening. You saw the announcement, how the Americans have made it clear that they are pulling out of Europe. They will no longer protect the Europeans, and that they want to focus on other things. It's just amazing to watch, something that we never even saw coming. And the Europeans are still in shock. The Europeans are still in shock of this situation. They are still in shock. They couldn't believe what is happening. They just couldn't believe it. I'm pretty sure you've seen these things on the news already. So all praises to our Heavenly Father. I'm doing this because, or this is relevant because of Daniel chapter 2. Daniel chapter 2, from verse 38 all the way to like 45. You read about how the 4th kingdom is going. The 4th kingdom is going to be divided. The 4th kingdom will be divided, and that's America. And Europe, they are the fourth kingdom that you read about in the Bible. So this is a spiritual analysis of the fourth kingdom, um, and it's just a very big event that just happened. Being that the Bible tells you that the fourth kingdom will be divided. The fourth kingdom will be divided, and that's what we just witnessed. Let me move around the internet, move around YouTube, so I can make this more interesting. I want to make this program more interesting. I have shown you a video already. I've shown you a video of how Europe is divided. Incredible to watch. It's amazing. I sit right here on this office chair. I sit down here watching this whole thing unfold, and I was like, no, I have to do a video. This is a very big event taking place right now, to see the separation of Europe and America happen in real time. Incredible. And that's exactly what the Bible tells you in Daniel chapter 2, from verse 438. So let me look around on YouTube and see other videos that are relevant to this. I just showed you this video right now. I just played this one, Divided Europe. So let me see if I can show you some more relevant video on this particular topic. Videos that are relevant. So just bear with me. Just bear with me. All right, let's check this one out. Let's watch this.
The high-stakes negotiations to end the war in Ukraine took about 4 hours. The talks between senior American and Russian officials are being held in Saudi Arabia, but without Ukraine's presence. The high-stakes negotiations to end the war in Ukraine took about 4 hours. The talks between senior American and Russian officials are being held in Saudi Arabia, but without Ukraine's presence. ABC's Christian Cordero has the latest.
It's an image not seen in 3 years. American and Russian officials face to face, merely a wooden table between them. As Doria Palace hosted the nearly 5-hour-long meeting between Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, and National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. Across, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and an aide to Vladimir Putin. Rubio described the meeting as upbeat and constructive, but did not map out a potential path to end Russia's aggression.
There has to be concessions made by all sides. We're not going to predetermine what those are. We're certainly not going to negotiate this today.
The two sides did agree to appoint teams that would continue discussions.
The goal is to bring an end to this conflict in a way that's fair, enduring, sustainable, and acceptable to all parties involved.
Ukraine was not invited to these talks, nor were European allies.
If you're going to bring both sides together, you have to talk to both sides. Thank you so much.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, meanwhile, is in the region, but late today abruptly canceled a previously scheduled meeting with Saudi Arabia tomorrow, suggesting he wants to avoid being linked to the U.S.-Russia talks. On today's meeting, Zelensky's impression is that Russia has only provided ultimatums, insisting he will not yield to them.
So, just so you guys know, my brothers and sisters, just so you know, you see this guy? Just bear with me. This guy here, this so-called Zelensky, this guy, I don't know, like, the better way to describe him. This man here is an agent of America, agent of the Europeans. And this man pretends to be the president of Ukraine, but this man is destroying Ukraine. I watch current affairs, the stuff that goes on in the world. I watch it a lot. I'm very familiar with these things that go on in the world. And I watch this thing very closely. This man you see here is very typical of why we should be careful. Some people that claim to be your own, your loved ones, could be your worst enemy. Zelensky is the Ukrainian enemy of the Ukrainians. Zelensky is the enemy of Ukrainians. But he is also supposed to be their president. Zelensky is an enemy of the Ukrainians. Zelensky, this thing, this degenerate, an actor, selected to do this. So it's incredible to watch this whole thing unfold, because they say he's the president of Ukraine, but you can watch this man destroy Ukraine and destroy Ukrainians. You could watch. He kept on insisting on joining NATO, while he knows very well that it's not possible. And the more he insists on joining NATO, the more he prolongs the war that is slaughtering people. And he refused. He absolutely refused. So it's really amazing to watch. This man is beyond evil. He is beyond evil. And I pray that he dies a horrible death. He is beyond evil. He is the agent. He's an agent of the enemies of Ukraine. Zelensky is an enemy of Ukraine, because he could have just stayed neutral and the war will be avoided. But he wanted to join himself with the Europeans, but at the same time knowing fully well that the Europeans will not accept him. He knows that they will not accept him, but if he insists on joining them, incredible. So because of this, Ukraine is being destroyed. Ukraine is being destroyed. This man is evil, wicked. So let's move around again. Let me see if I can show you more videos. I've shown you this one already. We played this one. Let's look around and see what's out there.
Welcome to the News Hour. Today, top Russian and U.S. officials met in person for the first time since Russia invaded Ukraine more than 1,000 days ago. The goal, they said, was to chart a path towards peace.
And there was more. The U.S. and Russia raised the possibility of lifting the sanctions they've aimed at each other. They also agreed to work toward restoring staffing at their embassies. But there was one glaring omission. Ukrainian officials were not in the room. It was a face-to-face not seen in almost 3 years. U.S. officials, led by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, meeting with their Russian counterparts in Saudi Arabia to discuss an end to the war in Ukraine and chart a path toward improving bilateral relations. After more than 4 hours behind closed doors, the U.S. delegation said it saw hints of progress.
We couldn't have imagined a better result after this session. It was very, very solid.
I came away today convinced that they are willing to begin to engage in a serious process.
Thank you so much.
But just as notable as the talks themselves was a particular absence. Ukraine was not invited. President Volodymyr Zelensky postponed his own visit to Saudi Arabia, meeting today instead with Turkey's President Erdogan. Turkey is both friendly with Russia and a member of NATO. Zelensky reiterated that there could be no peace deal without a seat for Ukraine at the table.
російсько-американську зустріч в Саудівській Аравії.
This Russian-American meeting in Saudi Arabia was a surprise for us.
Для України, для нашого регіону і для Європи.
For Ukraine and for our region, for Europe, it is critical that any negotiations to end the war are not happening behind the backs of the key parties affected by the Russian aggression.
Today, the U.S. dismissed any notion that Ukraine was being left out.
So, shuttle diplomacy has happened throughout history. It's happened all over the world. We are absolutely talking to both sides.
For Russia, today's sit-down was a chance to lay the groundwork to talk with the U.S. on a wide range of issues, not just about Ukraine.
There was a great interest which we share in resuming consultations on geopolitical problems, where both the United States and Russia have interests, and there was a great interest in removing artificial obstacles to the development of mutually beneficial economic cooperation.
After the Biden administration cut nearly all ties with Russia when it invaded Ukraine, today steps were taken toward renewing relations and rebuilding economic ties.
We need to have diplomatic facilities that are operating and functioning normally.
That's renewed concerns among allies who held their own meetings yesterday and again today in Paris, that the new U.S. administration is already too open to items on Vladimir Putin's wish list, namely easing sanctions and letting Russia keep its battlefield gains.
We know just the practical reality is that there is going to be some discussion of territory and there's going to be discussion of security guarantees.
Today marked only the beginning of the conversations. The administration says the talks were meant to pave the way for a meeting between Presidents Trump and Putin, but no date announced yet.
All right. So my brothers and sisters, let me address the part about Ukrainian war. We just saw that America have left Europe, made it very clear they are no longer interested in Europe, abandoned Europe. Russia is the victim. I'm sure you've never had anything like this, because they've presented it in your country at the news. They've presented it in the news that Russia is the aggressor. Oh no, Europe is the aggressor. I'm sure you hear about the Russian war against Ukraine. I'm telling you that Russia is the victim. Ukraine, backed, supported by America and Europe, they are the aggressor. European countries united to fight against one country, Russia, and they still lost. So the reality is that Russia is the victim here, not the aggressor. So it's incredible to watch how they spin it, you know. So let's watch this.
President Trump claimed in a press conference Tuesday afternoon the U.S. has given hundreds of billions of dollars more
So my brothers and sisters, what I'm trying to use this video to do is to just give you an idea of what has happening, how Europe is dividing. Europe have divided, and America is dividing away from Europe. And the Bible tells us that this will happen. Daniel chapter 2 and Daniel chapter 7. I encourage you to read it. Daniel 2 and Daniel chapter 7 talked about the fourth kingdom. So this is a spiritual analysis of the fourth kingdom. I've played some videos in the beginning showing you how Europe is divided in our face. And the Bible tells us that this will happen, that the fourth kingdom will be divided. Daniel chapter 2 from verse 48. In the future, I'm going to do as I used to do in the past. I'm going to be able to have a line for calls. I don't think my system now, I can take calls in the future. I'm going to start taking calls like as I used to in the past. When I do live broadcasts, I do take calls. But I think that's something that I'll have to arrange and organize that in this broadcast. So in that way I can take calls and you can call in and we can talk. So I'm glad I did this. This is spiritual analysis of the fourth kingdom. I'm glad that we did this one. And I will try to come in whenever there's a major worldly event. In a major world event, I will try to come in and do a spiritual analysis of that situation. So in this current situation right now, what had happened is that America has pretty much abandoned. That's what has happened. And the Europeans are still in shock. They are still in shock. They couldn't believe it. So we had to come in and address it and try to explain spiritually why it happened. So all praises to our Heavenly Father. We give the Most High all the glory and all the honor. For those of you that watched, thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate. I'll give the Most High all the glory and all the honor for His love and His kindness. I'm going to close the video now. One of the reasons why I wanted to do this also is to test my system. So in the future, I'll be doing more and more programs. So let me close the system, and Yazoo, I'll see you soon. Okay, I'm trying to close the broadcast.